The night sky above Earth had never looked so peaceful. Stars shimmered like small fires in the distance, and the blue planet below slept under a blanket of clouds. Far beyond the moon's orbit, a silver ship glided quietly through the dark, almost invisible except for a faint blue glow around its curved edges. Inside the ship, Ryloth, a young alien researcher from the planet Nerath, stood before a large screen showing the image of Earth. For generations, the Nerathians had watched this planet from afar. To them, humans were unpredictable, capable of both compassion and destruction. Some Nerathians admired humans for their courage. Others feared them for their violence. Ryloth, however, felt something different. He saw curiosity in humans and a hunger to learn, to explore, to understand. He believed that deep inside, humans and Nerathians were not so different. But this visit was not about friendship. The Council of Observation had ordered Ryloth's team to visit Earth as guests, to test the guests' right, an old tradition among their kind. The rule was simple. Any species that welcomed a Nerathian guest peacefully would earn the Council's protection. Any species that rejected or harmed them would be left to their fate, or worse, be classified as a threat. Ryloth wasn't sure what he would find. The ship descended quietly through the clouds, disguised from radar by advanced cloaking fields. It landed in a forest clearing somewhere in the northern part of Earth, far from any cities. Ryloth stepped out, feeling the soft earth beneath his boots. The air smelled fresh and full of life. His eyes, glowing faintly green, scanned the tall trees and shadows. He whispered to himself, "So this is Earth. Beautiful, but uncertain." He activated his translator, a small crystal on his wrist, and began walking toward the lights he saw in the distance. The lights belonged to a small town named Brookpine, a quiet human settlement where people still trusted each other, where life was simple and slow. The perfect place, he thought, to begin his test. In Brookpine, Emma Carter was closing her bookstore when she saw something strange from the window, a flash of blue light deep in the forest. For a moment she thought it was lightning, but the sky was clear. Her heart raced. She was curious but cautious. She had always been fascinated by the stars and the idea of life beyond Earth. Maybe, she thought, tonight was the night her dream would come true. She grabbed her flashlight and jacket and walked toward the forest trail. The night was quiet, except for the soft crunch of leaves under her boots. As she reached the clearing, she froze. There, standing near a glowing rock-like structure, was someone, or something, unlike anyone she had ever seen. Ryloth turned when he heard her approach. His first instinct was to hide, but then he remembered his mission: to meet, to observe, to be a guest. Emma's voice trembled slightly. Who are you?" Ryloth tilted his head. His translator crystal glowed softly, turning his alien words into English. "I am Ryloth. I come from far beyond your skies. I mean no harm. I seek only to understand your world." Emma blinked in disbelief. "You're an alien?" Ryloth nodded calmly. "On my planet we call your people the Watchers. You look at the stars with hope. That is rare." Emma's fear slowly turned into wonder. She took a cautious step closer. "If you're here to understand us, you picked the right place. We're friendly." "Well, most of us." A faint smile crossed Ryloth's face. "Then I am honored to be your guest." Emma brought Ryloth to her home, a small cottage on the edge of town. She made him tea, though he only pretended to drink it, and asked 100 questions. He answered what he could. He told her about Nerath, a world of twin suns and oceans that glowed at night. He spoke about how his people believed every intelligent life had the right to be heard before being judged. Emma listened closely, fascinated. "So this guest right thing, you're testing if humans are kind?" "Yes," Ryloth replied. "If your kind can accept one guest with peace, the Council will protect your world. But if humans choose fear over reason, I may be the last guest who comes." Emma grew quiet. She thought of wars, greed, and division among her people. "We're not perfect, Ryloth, but we try. Maybe that's what matters." Ryloth looked at her, his eyes glowing softly in the dim light. Trying is the first sign of wisdom. For the first time, Ryloth felt something unusual. Trust. He had studied thousands of worlds, but no other species had made him feel welcome. In Emma's home, surrounded by books and warmth, he felt something his kind had almost forgotten: hope. The next morning, Emma took Ryloth outside. He wore a long coat and hat to hide his appearance, though his glowing eyes still shone faintly beneath the brim. She showed him the town, the people, the laughter, the kindness. Ryloth watched a child feed birds, an old man wave to strangers, and a woman share food with a stray dog. These small acts of humanity touched him more deeply than grand speeches ever could, but not everyone was as kind. That afternoon, a man named Tom Briggs, a local hunter, spotted the stranger's odd movements and glowing wrist device. Suspicion burned in his eyes. He followed them through the streets, hiding behind cars and fences. When he overheard Emma talking about a visitor from the stars, he ran to the sheriff's office, shouting about an alien invasion. Within an hour, the small town buzzed with fear. People locked their doors. Some grabbed cameras. Others grabbed weapons. News spread fast, faster than truth ever could. Emma noticed the change immediately. "Ryloth," she said quietly, "we have to go. People are scared." Ryloth looked disappointed. Fear is the greatest wall between worlds. They ran into the forest, chased by the echo of distant sirens. As they reached the clearing where Ryloth's ship waited, Emma turned to him. "Please don't judge us by this. Some people just don't understand yet." Ryloth placed a hand over his heart, the Nerathian gesture of gratitude. "You showed me kindness when others showed fear. I will remember that." The sound of engines roared in the distance. Flashlights flickered through the trees. Emma's heart pounded. "Go before they find you." Ryloth looked at her one last time. "You are the proof I needed, that humanity still has light." He stepped into his ship, which began to glow brighter as it lifted off. The wind blew through the trees as Emma shielded her eyes. The ship vanished into the sky, leaving behind only silence, and a faint shimmer of blue dust in the air. Far above the earth, Ryloth watched the planet from his screen again. His report to the council was almost ready. He spoke softly, as if to himself. "They feared what they did not understand. Yet one human welcomed me as a guest, not an enemy. The guest's right has been tested. Humanity still has a chance." As the stars reflected in his eyes, Ryloth felt something stir inside him, a sense that maybe, just maybe, this strange little world could change the destiny of both their species. The stars stretched endlessly across the void as Ryloth's ship drifted through the silence of space. His mission was complete, yet his heart felt heavy. He had seen both the best and worst of humanity, kindness in Emma's eyes and fear in the hearts of others. Inside the ship, he prepared his report for the Council of Observation. The holographic interface glowed softly as he recorded his findings. Subject: humans of planet Earth. Result: mixed. They are driven by curiosity, but also by fear. One human, Emma Carter, displayed compassion and trust. Others reacted with aggression and suspicion. The guest's right was both honored and broken. He paused, his voice trembling slightly. Recommendation: further observation is needed. Humans should not be judged by fear alone. When he finished, the report transmitted through quantum channels to the distant world of Nereth. Within hours, the council would review it. 12 wise Nerathians, each representing a different science or philosophy. But Ryloth knew what they might say. Nereth had become cautious in recent centuries. They had seen too many young species destroy themselves. Many believed that no world still deserved the guest's right. Ryloth feared they would declare humanity unstable and forbid any further contact. He leaned back, staring at the holographic stars around him. "Emma believed in us," he whispered. "If I give up now, I betray that trust." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Emma Carter sat on her porch staring at the empty sky. It had been 3 nights since Ryloth left. The local authorities had questioned her, but she said nothing about the alien visitor. She told them she had only seen a meteor. Deep inside, though, she felt an ache, a strange sadness mixed with wonder. Every night she hoped she might see that blue light again. She missed his calm voice, his gentle way of observing everything, as if every tree and star carried meaning. Then one evening, as she was closing her shop, a strange vibration filled the air. The lights flickered. The ground trembled for a moment. Emma looked up and gasped. In the dark sky above the forest, a new light appeared. Not blue this time, but white, like lightning frozen in the air. She whispered, "Ryloth?" But this ship was not his. High above Earth, 3 Narathian ships emerged from hyperspace. Their shapes were like silver wings, sharp and elegant. On board the lead vessel sat High Observer Thalor, an elder of the Council. He had read Ryloth's report, and he did not approve. To him, humans were reckless. They polluted their air, fought endless wars, and feared anything different. He believed the guests' right had been wasted on them. "Activate descent protocols," Thalor ordered. "We will collect Ryloth and end this experiment." Ryloth's ship received the Council signal moments later. The voice of Thalor echoed through his cabin. "Ryloth of Narath, your observation has ended. Return to formation immediately." Ryloth straightened in surprise. "High Observer Thalor, you came personally?" "Indeed," Thalor replied coldly. "Your compassion clouds your judgment. The humans are not ready. Their fear proves it." Ryloth clenched his fists. "With respect, High Observer, one human showed me more courage than I have seen in years. She welcomed a stranger without knowing who I was. Does that not mean something?" Thalor's tone hardened. "One act of kindness does not erase a world's chaos. We cannot risk revealing ourselves further. You will return home at once." The communication ended abruptly. Ryloth sat in silence, frustration building inside him. He looked again at Earth, spinning peacefully, unaware of how close it was to being abandoned. He whispered to himself, "If the Council won't listen, then I will show them." He set a new course and back toward Earth. Down below, Emma stood in the forest clearing once again, her heart pounding as she saw the familiar blue glow break through the clouds. The ship descended silently, scattering leaves and light around her. When Ryloth stepped out, she ran to him with relief. "I knew you'd come back," she said breathlessly. Ryloth looked weary but determined. "Emma, I don't have much time. The Council is here. They plan to end all contact with Earth." Her eyes widened. "What? Why?" "They think your people are too afraid. They believe you will destroy yourselves before peace ever comes." Emma frowned, shaking her head. "They don't understand us. We fight, yes, but we also heal, build, and learn. Fear isn't all we are." Ryloth smiled faintly. "That is why I returned. I need to show them what I saw, not fear but hope." He turned toward his ship and activated a large crystal device, projecting a beam of light into the sky. "This will send your message directly to the Council's fleet, but it must come from you." "From me?" "Yes," Ryloth said. "Only a human can speak for humanity." Emma hesitated. "What if they don't listen?" "Then," Ryloth said quietly, "I will make them listen." Moments later, above Earth, the 3 Council ships received a sudden transmission. A human woman's voice translated perfectly into their language. "My name is Emma Carter. I don't speak for all humans, only for what I believe is possible. We're not perfect, but we care, we dream. We build bridges between fear and understanding. If you came here to test us, then see not what we fear, but what we hope for. You came as guests, and guests deserve kindness. But we too ask for a chance to grow." Her words echoed across the fleet's chambers. Thalor watched silently as the other counselors exchanged glances. There was something powerful in her voice, something rare and genuine. Ryloth then appeared beside her in the projection. "High Observer, these are not beasts of war. They are learners, dreamers. If we abandon them now, we deny the very purpose of the guest's right, to guide, not to judge." Thalor's voice was calm but firm. "You risk much, Ryloth. You speak against the Council." Ryloth met his gaze without fear. "I speak for what is right." A long silence followed. Finally, Thalor rose from his seat. "Very well. Earth shall remain under probation. No invasion, no contact, but no destruction either. The guest's right remains unbroken for now." Ryloth bowed slightly. "Thank you, High Observer." The communication ended. Emma looked at Ryloth, relief washing over her. "Did it work?" "Yes," he said softly. "For now. Your world has been given time." The night grew calm again as the Council ships faded into the sky. Ryloth stood beside Emma, watching the stars flicker. "So that's it?" she asked. "You go back and we just wait?" Ryloth looked thoughtful. "Waiting is part of growing. Your people must find their own path. The next time we return, it will not be a test, and it will be a friendship." Emma smiled sadly. "I'll hold you to that." He reached into a small pouch and handed her a crystal, the same kind that powered his translator. "Keep this. It will let me hear you across the stars, but use it only when your world is ready." She held the glowing crystal close, its light warm against her hand. "How will I know when that is?" Ryloth smiled gently. When fear no longer speaks louder than kindness, he stepped back toward his ship. The ramp lifted slowly as Emma watched, her eyes filled with both pride and sorrow. The blue light rose once again into the dark, disappearing among the stars. For a long time, Emma stood there, clutching the crystal, feeling both small and infinite beneath the endless sky. Somewhere out there, her friend from another world carried her voice, a simple truth that might one day change the fate of two species. Far away on his journey home, Ryloth looked at the message once more. The recording of Emma's words shone softly in the ship's memory core. He played it again, listening to her calm voice echo through the silence of space. He whispered, "You gave me hope, Emma. Maybe that is what the guest's right was meant to find." Outside, the stars continued to shine, countless worlds, countless chances, and among them, one small blue planet still waiting for the day when its guests return. Years had passed since Ryloth's first visit to Earth. The world had changed, slowly, quietly, in ways that were almost invisible to most people. Cities had grown taller, technology smarter, and people more aware of one another. Conflict still existed, but the seeds of understanding had been planted. For Emma Carter, those years had been a time of patience and hope. She had kept the small glowing crystal Ryloth had given her close, often holding it during quiet nights under the stars. Sometimes she could hear faint echoes of his voice, reminders that she was not alone in her hope for humanity. And now, on a clear night, the crystal began to glow brighter than ever. Emma stepped outside her home in Brookpine, heart racing. She had almost forgotten the nervous excitement of that first night years ago, but tonight the air felt different, heavier yet full of possibility. A beam of soft blue light appeared in the distance, growing brighter with each second. Emma gasped. It was him. Ryloth's ship descended through the atmosphere as if the years had not passed. The ramp lowered slowly and he stepped out, older now but still glowing faintly, still carrying the calm presence she remembered. "Ryloth," Emma cried, running toward him. "You kept your promise," he said softly, smiling. "And so did your world." Emma looked around. She had been worried that humanity might not be ready, that fear would once again overshadow kindness. But everywhere she looked, she saw subtle signs of change. People walked without anger, helped strangers, and treated the earth more gently. Communities had grown closer, not further apart. Humanity had learned, and Ryloth could feel it. Ryloth's communicator hummed, and the familiar voice of High Observer Thaler came through. "Ryloth of Nereth, I see you have returned. The Council has reviewed the progress of Earth. It seems your faith in humanity was not misplaced." "Yes, High Observer," Ryloth replied. "Your rules of observation have been met. Earth has changed. I believe the guest's right can now be fully recognized." Thaler's tone softened. "Very well. The Council will descend. You may guide them, but remember, even the smallest misstep may test the guest's right once more." Ryloth nodded and turned to Emma. "They will arrive in hours. Will you help me show them the best of humanity?" Emma hesitated, then smiled with quiet determination. "I'll do whatever it takes." Together they prepared for the Council's arrival. Emma contacted local leaders, educators, and peacekeepers, people who shared her vision of humanity as curious, kind, and capable of growth. Soon a small group of humans gathered in the forest clearing where Ryloth had first landed years ago. They waited quietly, ready to speak for their world. Above Earth, 3 silver Nerathian ships emerged from the stars. Their presence was massive and awe-inspiring, but they emitted no weapons or threat. The first ship descended to hover just above the clearing, its polished surface reflecting the moonlight. Ryloth stood beside Emma as the hatch opened. High Observer Thalor stepped out, followed by 2 other elders. Their eyes glowed faintly like Ryloth's own, but their expressions were unreadable. "Greetings, humans of Earth," Thaler said, his voice calm but powerful. "We have come to evaluate whether your species has earned the guest's right fully. Show us what you have learned." Emma stepped forward. She held the crystal high, its light shining brightly. "We have learned," she said clearly, "that fear is a choice, and so is kindness. We choose kindness. We choose understanding. We work together. We care for one another and for this planet, and we are ready to welcome guests as friends, not as threats." She motioned to the people gathered around. Teachers, scientists, children, farmers, and healers. Each spoke briefly, sharing stories of compassion, cooperation, and courage. One child spoke of planting trees to save wildlife. A teacher described teaching children about respect for all life. A nurse told of caring for those who had no one else. Ryloth watched, heart swelling. This was what he had hoped to see, not perfection but genuine effort, empathy, and growth. Thalor listened carefully. For the first time in decades, he saw humans not as chaotic or dangerous, but as learners, dreamers, and creators. He turned to the other elders. Perhaps we were too hasty in our judgments, he admitted quietly. The counselors walked among the humans, observing their actions. One elder reached out to touch a small child's hand, and the child smiled without fear. Another elder watched as a farmer offered food to a stray animal. Small moments, but powerful proof of change. Finally, Thalor turned to Ryloth. Your choice to intervene, Ryloth, was bold, but it seems it was necessary. Humanity has grown in ways we could not measure from afar. The guest's right is theirs. Ryloth felt a warmth spread through him. I knew they could if given the chance. Emma approached, holding the glowing crystal. What does this mean for us? Thalor's voice was gentle yet firm. It means that Earth is no longer merely a subject of observation. You are now recognized as friends. Your species may continue to learn, to grow, and to host us as guests. But remember this, the guest's right is a responsibility, not a reward. You must protect it and honor it, Emma nodded. We will. We promise. The council elders raised their hands in unison, a gesture of approval among their kind. Light shimmered across the clearing as their energy fields blended with the humans' own efforts of care and cooperation. In that moment, Earth felt small and infinite at the same time, a world capable of hope, capable of trust, capable of connection. Ryloth turned to Emma, his eyes glowing faintly green. This is the beginning, he said. Not just for humans, but for all of us. Together we can build bridges across the stars. Emma smiled, holding the crystal close. Then let's start building. The Nerathian ships lifted once more, leaving the clearing peaceful. But this time there was no fear in the air, only promise. People returned to their homes with new hope, inspired by the knowledge that their world had been seen, judged, and recognized for its potential. Over the years that followed, humans and Nerathians began to communicate openly. Exchanges of knowledge, culture, and art enriched both species. Children grew up hearing stories of Ryloth and the guest's right. Teachers spoke of empathy and understanding as not just moral lessons, but as vital tools to ensure humanity's survival and growth. Emma, now older, often walked in the forest clearing at night. She would look at the stars, thinking of Ryloth and the council, and sometimes she could still hear the faint echo of his voice from the crystal, reminding her and all of humanity of a simple truth. Fear may visit, but it does not have to stay. Choose kindness, choose understanding. That is the guest's right. And above the sky, among the stars, Ryloth and his people watched, proud, patient, and hopeful, knowing that humanity had passed the test not through perfection, but through choice. The guest's right had been honored, Earth had been given a chance, and a bond between worlds was born. The stars shimmered brighter that night, as if applauding a small planet that had finally understood that being a guest and welcoming one was one of the greatest responsibilities a species could have.